Democrats, you know you've messed up when even Bill Maher has had it with the extremists in your party. This is a man who's marched in lockstep with your party for the last few decades, has virtually supported every policy, and has dedicated his show to basically pushing progressive ideals. Yet now he's saying, I want nothing to do with those extremists, and he's calling out the rhetoric that led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Take a look.
He has to stop, too. He went out to dinner. I wouldn't have done that. In Washington, D.C., okay, and people started to gather around him, and they were chanting, "You're the Hitler of our time." Okay, first of all, he's not Hitler, okay? An insult to everybody in the Holocaust to begin with. Second of all, calling somebody Hitler makes it a lot easier to justify things like assassination. Let's put of that away, shall we?
And look, I know that this is something that many of us have been saying for years. I've been saying this repeatedly on this channel. But to hear this sentiment, to hear this message from someone like Bill Maher being spoken to Democrats, I think is going to hopefully make a huge difference and is hopefully signaling a shifting tide here. Now, in case you're not familiar with what he was talking about, President Trump, J.D. Vance, and I believe Marco Rubio was with him. They all went out to eat, and people started chanting "Free Palestine" and "Trump is the Hitler of our time." Secret Service was there, and they ended up having to clear some of the area, but it really was a tense situation. In case you missed it, this is what happened.
Yeah, happy to see you. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you.
The media has been pushing that narrative ever since 2015 when President Trump came down the golden escalator and announced that he was going to run for president. They've been pushing the idea that he's a dictator, that he's an authoritarian, that he would be Hitler if given the opportunity. But it's completely different to actually hear this from everyday Americans, to see a protest organized. Somehow they were able to get into this restaurant. You would have thought that the place would have been swept before President Trump, J.D. Vance, and everyone else entered the building. So for protesters to be up in his face like that, and also I would just like to point out, if you, the protesters I'm talking about, if you truly believed that President Trump is the Hitler of our time, would you be criticizing him to his face? Would you literally, like, Hitler walks into a restaurant, you'd be calling him Satan? I don't think any of us would do that if we actually feared and believed what we're saying here. And so I think that this shows that some of what the Democrats are doing is performative, but unfortunately, there are many crazy people out there who, either because they don't pay attention to the news or don't use critical thinking skills, truly believe this Hitler rhetoric that's being pushed around. So kudos to Bill Maher for speaking out against this. He actually took the time to educate his audience on the fact that silencing someone is the complete antithesis of free speech, is the complete antithesis of one of the key values that we should all champion as Americans. And he basically said that the war that's going on is basically a war between people who want free speech and those who don't. And obviously, the ones who don't, especially in this situation, it's very clear that they are coming from the radical left.
I didn't realize this was going to be kind of a theme show because we write our editorial before the week starts, and so it was all about freedom of speech. Then the assassination occurred, so this is turning into a theme show. But it is kind of interesting that this guy was shot, and he's been on our show, been on my podcast. I talk to him, I like to him, I like everybody. I talk to everybody. I think I'm glad I took that approach. But he was shot under a banner that said, "Prove me wrong," because he was a debater. And too many people think the way to do that, to prove you wrong, is to just eliminate you from talking altogether. So the people who mocked his death or justified it, I think you're gross, I have no use for you. The people who are saying now we're at war, I have no use for you. So my first question, true or false? I think the real war is not between left or right. It's for the people it's between the people on both sides who want a war and the people who don't.
And look, I believe Bill Maher has a lot of credibility on this. Don't forget, he's one of the few Democrats who actually not only received an invitation, but accepted the invitation to go to the White House, right? Earlier this year, I believe it was Kid Rock actually invited and pleaded with President Trump, hey, invite Bill Maher to the White House. I think it would be great for both of you. Bill Maher accepted, and he actually gave a great show well, not immediately. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks delayed, but he basically was really surprised. Hey, the President Trump I saw behind closed doors, the man I sat down and ate dinner with, that's not the man I see on TV. Basically, Bill said what a lot of us have realized a long time ago, that yes, President Trump is intelligent and he's hardworking and all of those things, but at the end of the day, he's also a showman. He also has built part of his career on reality television. So there is sort of this dual persona, but Bill Maher basically just confirmed what we've heard from many, many people, that, hey, President Trump is charismatic. He's very engaged. He's very sharp behind the scenes, and he just does what he needs to in front of the cameras. And so all of that to say, when Bill Maher comes out and says, hey, no, President Trump, he's not Hitler. He's not a dictator. He's not an authoritarian. I'm not worried, and I don't think you should be worried. I think he has a lot of credibility in saying that. Like I said at the top of the video, this is a guy who's essentially marched in lockstep with the Democrat Party for the last few decades. So I hope that his message opens eyes on the far left. Of course, though, talk is cheap. Actions are a lot harder, but even then, Bill Maher has actually lived up. He has every right to preach what he's preaching right now, because he really did have Charlie Kirk on his show, which I didn't know, and I'm going to share a clip of that here in a little bit. But he really has a history, a track record of speaking with people with completely different viewpoints. As you saw here, he had Ben Shapiro on the panel as well. So this is actually what Ben said in regards to Bill's question, which is, do you think the actual fight here is between people who want free speech and those who don't? Is that the war that's about to happen?
I mean, I think that's accurate. I knew Charlie for 13 years, and when he was a kid, he was like an 18-year-old kid when I first met Charlie in the Breakers in Palm Beach, and he was fundraising, running around, and I watched him, grow into a man and watch him, get married and have a couple of very young kids. And, whatever you thought of Charlie's views is irrelevant. The fact is that what he made his living doing, and what he actually did quite well, made himself really good at this, was just going and talking to people on the other side, and that's what he was killed doing. He was literally in the middle of answering a question and picked up the microphone and was shot in the throat. And we do have a serious problem in this country with people who believe that violence is the proper response to speech, and that does skew young. I mean, what the polls tend to show is that of Gen Z, only 58% of Gen Z believes that there is no excuse for violence in response to speech, meaning that 42% believe that there are some times that violence ought to be a response to speech, which is deeply terrifying. I mean, on a personal level, obviously, I have 24/7 security. I've had 24/7 security for a decade. I've spoken at a lot of college campuses. I never, honest to God, thought that we were going to get to this point. Even the assassination of political figures is not the same thing as just being shot in the throat for the crime of debating issues in the public square. And I thought wrong. I thought that's not what America is or what it should be about. And we've come to someplace incredibly dark in our nation's history. And, I weep for the country. I weep for Charlie. It's terrific.
And for the audience to break into applause there, again, Bill Maher has built a cult following of people on the left. Now, he does have a lot of independents, and a lot of Republicans even watch him. I've been watching him for a few years. I love his Friday show. I know a lot of people don't like watching people with opposing viewpoints, but I believe he's sincere in what he says, and he's at least been consistent in his own ideology, even if I don't agree with it. But I think the reason I want to point this out is a lot of people are saying, how do we lower the temperature? I don't have the answer for that, and I'm not going to tell you how you should live your life or what I think you should do, but I can tell you sort of my approach to things, and my approach to things is to basically take a nuanced view of the media and of people with different beliefs. I know that sounds like common sense and that sounds super basic, but think about it. When we talk about the mainstream media, it's easy to just say, well, they're all biased, or oh, they're all liars, or oh, they're all terrible people. But that's an oversimplification. And I think if we actually dig deep down in our hearts and are honest with ourselves, we know that's not true. Yes, the mainstream media is biased, but that doesn't mean every single person who works for them or who works at these institutions is evil. It doesn't mean that they're all like traitors to the country. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, one of the things that I want to do is at least acknowledge the good things people do. And that's why, obviously, that's the theme of this video, acknowledging the good that Bill Maher is doing in his sphere of influence. That's why yesterday I acknowledged The View. Yes, I think The View is ridiculous. I think the women on The View are ridiculous 99.9% of the time. But when they hit the right note, when it came to their response to Charlie Kirk's assassination, hey, I'm going to give kudos where kudos is due, because they could have pulled an MSNBC or an MS Now. They could have pulled out hateful rhetoric. They could have mocked him in death, like so many Democrats are doing right now. But hey, guess what? These people, they're not. And that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're the best role models in society. But again, I can acknowledge when someone has done something right. Well, like I said, Charlie Kirk actually did appear on Bill Maher's podcast. This is just a clip of it that I think you will find fascinating.
Drink?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You don't drink?
No.
Or smoke pot?
No.
And you're married and super Christian. We're going to get along great.
You know, this is going to just be perfect.
But can I just ask you, because I want to find out a lot about you, because you're obviously a super bright guy, but you do think that I have the right to live completely opposite than you do.
I think you can get as drunk as you'd like.
And you're that kind of an American, right? You're
Yes,
you're not forcing your opinions as.
I'm not here to say you can't. What are you talking about?
No, okay. So you think pot should be legal?
That's a complicated.
Oh, boy.
I would ask the question though, like, do you think since the legalization of marijuana in LA, it's made it a better or worse place to live, or just it hasn't changed at all?
It certainly hasn't changed my life.
Okay.
I grew up right outside here.
Do you think the quality of life has gone up or down?
Well, I don't know, but that's not really the relevant question, is it? Even if there is a deleterious effect, there is too many things we do, and we would not use that as a reason to prescribe our basic freedoms.
Should people, be able to do drugs outside, like on the street, or?
No, definitely not on the street.
Okay, so there are some limits.
Of course there are
okay.
limits, yes. And maybe of certain drugs, or certain drugs should be by prescription, as we do with pharmaceutical drugs, you know. But certainly pot is more benign than alcohol. I mean, I could give you the stats on that. We all know that. Is it health food? No. I'm not crazy, but I don't think it's. Well, it's a trade-off. When you're an adult, you have the right to make trade-offs. Trade-offs is the essence of life. I'm going to have this piece of cake tonight and be a little fatter tomorrow, or I'm not going to do that and feel better tomorrow. And we all make those choices on a daily basis with everything. Yes, have I probably cut off some years of my life, maybe with pot? Who knows? I may have increased them because it helped me. It certainly made me richer. It made me better at my job, better at writing, better at a lot of things I like to do. So, I might be living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys if it wasn't for pot, and I'm probably going to live longer here.
Or who knows how successful you could have been without it.
That's true, too. That is true, too.
Obviously, that wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a different era. It feels like a different age to actually have two people in good faith, conversing and debating. It's not getting nasty. It's not getting personal. Personally, I enjoy stuff like that, seeing people who truly have thought through their beliefs and are just wrestling with it back and forth. And at the end of the day, they can shake hands and say, hey, you live your life, I live my life. We're both Americans. Why can't we have more of that? Like, why does everything have to turn into a shouting match, or you're Hitler, or you're evil, or you're like, I wish we could have more of that, and that's why I wanted to share that clip. Now, while Bill Maher has appeared to have learned his lesson, or at least become more open-minded to the reality that is happening in the world and on the right side of the aisle, which I believe is the truth and reality, over on CNN, they are in full-blown delusion. They did report about the writing on the weaponry that the gunman used, right? But they basically are ignoring the fact that he had anti-fascist and potentially pro-trans messages on there. And I mean, this is important, but they literally said on air, who cares? Who cares what he wrote? I thought that was the whole point of trying to find out someone's motivation for doing something awful. Take a look at this.
I heard the congressman on there saying, we need to tone down the rhetoric. Well, will the rhetoric get toned down. I mean, again, I go back to what was on the bullet from this kid was fascism, and that's only coming from one side currently in this debate, and it's on every placard and every poster around the country. I mean, I think it's a valid question, but are they going to live up to what they say they're going to do with the Nazi and the fascism and the like? Yeah.
Do you
No,
think
I don't think we know, just to be clear, I mean, just law enforcement people, I don't think we know the meaning of his message. We know his history.
Bella Ciao is an anti-fascist thing. It says fascists catch this.
Then I'll give you his
history.
history. Then I'll give you his history, right? Think about his history. His history, but this is not the.
Why are we debating that?
This is what
I'm
that's why I
talking
wanted to tell you. This was my point, not
understanding.
yours. This was my
Yeah,
point, not
right.
yours. The point is, who cares? A man was killed, and you have yet to say political violence is bad, period. That's all that people want from the president. That's all. And we're getting this spin up of the you and this and what. Stop counting.
Well,
stop looking, because you're not going to divine a perfect motive in this case. I think we're looking for it. You're not going to divine it. We generally don't.
First of all, the president and virtually every single Republican leader has said political violence is wrong, period. No excuses. The issue that this has continued to rile people up is because people are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. We saw students cheering, universities around the country. They were laughing. I've shown clips of this, right? They were looking at the footage on their phones and laughing at a man, a father, being shot and blood gushing out of his neck. How sick is that? We see employees of these major corporations, and by the way, apparently these corporations are beginning to learn their lesson, but that's the reason why people are riled up. It's not because President Trump said or hasn't said something. No, it's because there is a strong contingent in this country, and I hate to say it, and let me be very clear, I don't think it's all Democrats. I don't think it's the majority of Democrats, but there is still a strong contingent of people who are happy about this and are celebrating this, and I hate to say it, want it to keep happening. Well, people have had enough, and if you are celebrating, don't be surprised if your actions come back to haunt you. But before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge Shannon Miller, Bart Denny, Bob Paul, SMDB 6 Feet, USMC Carr, Dave Dunville as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. So there was a Charlie Kirk Vigil that was being prepared, and they wanted to print out flyers to promote the vigil, to get people to come together, to mourn and build community and, just all the good things. Well, they paid for this sign, multiple signs to be printed. They posted their receipt online. They paid for this at OfficeMax, or Office Depot. But when they walked in, the people working refused to print it because they said, this is propaganda and we're just not going to give it to you.
Thank you. So we came in for an order earlier to print a poster for a vigil tonight.
Yeah, so
for somebody that passed. It's not
it's propaganda. I'm sorry. We don't put that here.
Alrighty. So what's your name?
Farrell, I'm print supervisor.
I'm one of the managers.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, we do
so
not
they
print,
say they don't print
we don't
political
print
propaganda.
No.
So this is somebody that passed away a couple years
That's
ago.
political propaganda, unfortunately. I'm
So
sorry.
this is for a prayer tonight, for a prayer vigil?
It's still propaganda, unfortunately.
What makes it propaganda?
Because he's a political figure, and I don't have to.
Press.
Yeah.
Our general manager is going to be in on Monday. If you
No,
want to
it's
speak
totally
further
okay.
on
No,
the
we have-
subject,
we have
If you would like to,
you are welcome to return.
Now, you'll notice there were two people there. Only one of them has been fired. OfficeMax, Office Depot, has released a statement basically talking about the concerning incident that happened. They released this early this morning, I believe, and so I think this was a great response. We'll see if the other person ends up getting fired, but apparently OfficeMax, Office Depot does not. I had no idea that they were the same thing now, apparently. I thought they used to be two separate stores, but apparently they don't want to be the next Bud Light. People are beginning to wake up. It's been a long time coming, but hey, better late than never. As always, though, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So there's been a huge outpouring of support for Charlie Kirk, not just here in America, but around the globe, from London to South Korea to Australia. Marches are happening everywhere. And then we see what's happening here with Bill Maher speaking out against this, the leftist reaction, The View even chiming in, and for once being on the right side of history. With all of that being said, do you think that there actually is a larger tide turning, or do you think that this polarization is still just going to continue, and instead conservatives are riled up and liberals are riled up and things are just going to get worse? Or do you think that there is hope and we are turning a corner? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.